Okay, great. Andrew, do you want to come up and do the capital program performance report? And then I think, Lynette, you've got something to add to this one as well, haven't you? So do you want to you might as well come up now. Great.
Kia ora. Did you want me to cover the purpose of the report and
I think that would be useful.
PMO outline as well?
Yeah, that would be really good.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay,
just on that, we've had feedback online that we're not, if everyone can sort of speak up into their microphones a wee bit, it just seems a bit quieter, but the team have got them maxed out, so if we can do that for people listening, that would be good. That doesn't necessarily mean more questions, just speaking louder.
Where'd that come from? Okay, just to start off with, briefly, I'll just give you a reminder of the purpose of the PMO. I covered this in the induction briefings. So the PMO exists to look after the project management framework and project governance systems. We have systems that align with industry best practice. Our role does cover multiple service areas across the council, and in essence we provide the kaitiakatanga, the sort of guardianship of the process and tools that project managers use. Second key point is we provide reporting and transparency, and that's probably one of the main purposes why I'm here today with the report. Through that, we offer a degree of independence from the project managers and the service areas, being able to look a little bit more dispassionately about project performance and report on that accordingly. As you know, we also look after the change management process, and you see that on a quarterly basis with the summary of changes that have occurred within the delegation framework. We also provide information to the industry liaison groups in contractors forums. We do that twice a year, particularly around annual plan time and draft annual plan, to give the industry a heads up about the workload that's coming up. We're working closely with the procurement department, Joe Vanderheever and his team, around some supplier relationship management tools at the moment as well to improve on that. And lastly, the third point is some specialist sort of advice and guidance on things such as, most particularly and topically at the moment, the annual plan. But we also look at reviews, capability building, some risks and lessons learned as well. So it's just a quick refresh of what the PMO is all about. In terms of the purpose of the report, we provide a program level view across the total capital program, if you like, a city-wide view. Within the capital program, there are over 900 projects. In our report, you'll see about 100 of them through the top 10s, 20s and so forth. So I don't know the detail of every project. When you ask a specific question about a water main and a clash with an Orion cable on a footpath somewhere in the city, but I will be supported by my colleagues, heads of service, who may know that detail. So I guess in that sense, in terms of the purpose of the report, think of it as a citywide view first and foremost, and obviously it is a forum for asking things around perhaps more a ward or community board level. But if you get into too much detail there's possibly better forums for that. And with that note, I think we've kind of got a bit of an exception today. We're going to dive into the CRAF program a little bit more after a series of questions on that over previous months, and Lynette's going to help me with that at the...
Now.
Are you going to do that now?
Why not?
Okay, we're going to do CRAF first. There you go. Yeah, sure.
Kia ora koutou. I wanted to give you a very brief update on the CREF program. There has been a couple of questions. There has been a number of questions recently. There have been a number of questions over the last few months, of which there's been, responses to all of them, all responses on the day. However, what I'd just like to put a bit of context around it. I promise I've only got about 4 or 5 slides here. You've got them all on your hub, your big tin can, so they are there for you to reference back to. But in a nutshell, the CRAF as an acronym stands for Capital Regeneration Acceleration Facility. It was announced, what we needed to do to get the money for the transport projects was to submit an investment proposal to government, to Treasury, to get it signed off. We had to have a business case for doing that. Effectively, that business case built up to the fact that we wanted to put forward, we were putting forward projects that wouldn't otherwise have been done as part of the long-term plan, hence the acceleration word. Not do them fast. They wouldn't have otherwise been done in the 10-year period. So we're bringing forward work to improve the livability, the connectivity and the safety and road conditions in targeted areas across the city. That investment proposal was submitted and accepted by Treasury, and then we had to write a very large and detailed investment case that was submitted to Treasury and finally accepted in 2020. So there was about a 2-year period just to get all that paperwork and that investment proposal agreed and approved. Ultimately, in a nutshell, it came down to 3 main phases. We had 5 area-wide improvements. So this is about the livability of areas. It's how easy it is to get around, how safe it is for those communities. So improving that. 5 areas that are listed up there. We also had 5 million for citywide safety improvements and safety priorities, and 5 million allocated for public transport improvements. And the projects in public transport improvements are to be pulled out of the PT Futures business case, which at that stage wasn't endorsed. A bit more on the process. So that got approved by Treasury, and we then did. Staff actually walked. We're just talking about the 5 areas at this stage. Staff walked every part of those 5 areas to do an assessment of that. Then they took that information, put it together into long lists for the using the priorities of the investment case that we'd had agreed by Treasury. Created long lists that they took to the community boards and the community to get feedback. They then had a number of briefings with community boards in the 5 areas. And the decisions for the programs of work went to the community boards. So the community boards discussed it. The feedback we've had from the community boards around the process has been really positive. They've been very detailed, and there's been a huge amount of information for them to consider to create those programs. The timing of those decisions is listed up there. The last of those decisions came through in September of this year. We've met with the community boards on many occasions. There's a total of 17 meetings over the 5 areas up there with the different boards. Some of those have been joint meetings with 2 boards. And so it's been a very time-consuming process, and we have done a lot of work. Now, just to pull you forward, these are the programs of works that have been agreed by the boards, and there's an indicative date there. I know it's small up there on the so since we've had the decisions on what is going to be done, we've then been able to reprioritise and reforecast when we can get the jobs done. Now, a number of the projects that were in that long list could just be done, but it was the board's decision, and in some cases the board's decision to take, in all cases it was the board's decision to prioritise the different works. The information they had said whether it would or would not require further consultation. So that first green column is whether we require more consultation on that individual project. So that'll be site-specific consultation, but it still has to be done. Some of them are underway, particularly all the speed zones, and the expected dates range between December of 2023 and June of 2025. That's the last 2 areas. So overall, we've got 5 areas. 40% of these projects in the 5 areas will be finished by June 2024. 78% will be finished by December of 2024. The last 20% will be done between December and June of 2025. And as you've asked us on many occasions over the last few years, you've asked us to provide you with a realistic timeframe. That's what we've put in. The other 2 programs of work are the safety program there's a big chunk of that that's been done. We've spent almost half of the money already on projects. The ones that are still going are the ones that we have to do more extensive consultation on. The bus projects have just started coming out, and we're starting to work on those, so that we haven't quite got timeframes for those. The PT Futures business case was only endorsed earlier this year by the Waka Kotahi board. So that's where we're at with CRAF. There's plenty going on, there's plenty of work going on, and we've been working closely with the community boards to get this program realistic.
Great, thank you very much. So we'll go to questions now on everything. Maybe we don't have any questions? Yanni.
Just in terms of the dates, obviously the date you've got for our board is slightly misleading. We only revisited one project that the staff had spent money doing, maintenance money, which we had scheduled for renewal. So all of our projects were agreed except for one, which was from that April thing. So we didn't reconfirm the whole program. It was only one. So what I'm trying to understand though is you say you've got contractors appointed.
Yep, we have got contracts.
So
appointed.
have we got prices locked in?
Well, no, because we haven't got this. We only got the scope agreed on these. So let me go back up to that. So the first point.
Yeah. So
It clearly says up there that it was approved in April and it was reconfirmed after a site visit in August of 19.
there was only one.
Then we had Riccarton in July, Spraydon, Summerfield, Waltham, Beckenham, which was a joint Linwood Heathcote Central Board and Spraydon Cashmere Board, I understand. That was August. And then we had on the 12th of August, and then we had
Right,
Brighton
but
on 12th
just
September.
regardless, like if you take the Linwood Walston ones, everything except the one in Holbert Street renewal was confirmed on April 13th.
Yes, it is.
Have any of those other projects been designed yet or being out for
Staff are
consultation?
working on design of all of those. We're working forward. It's a huge program of work. We are working on the design, and we have given you a realistic time frame to deliver.
So just in terms of our resources as a council though, and I know that we've got resource constraints, what I can't understand with these CRAF ones that we approved like in April is how we don't have designs for them in consultation, but the stadium streets, which we approved in July or the start of July or end of June, already have beautiful designs, already have out for consultation. Like how does that work in terms of our priority as a council when things that we've approved earlier still aren't even out for consultation, but other things that we've approved later?
So are you maybe to put it a different way, if we want to speed this up, Lynette, what's the mechanism to do that?
Technically, it's kind of.
Can we just let Lynette answer?
Well, it's unfair because what are we speeding up? Are we going to speed up Yarni's area? Are we going to speed up someone else's area? What are we speeding up? We're speeding a whole lot up.
I don't want to have a debate about it. I just want
So-
Yarni's.
Well,
We've
like
given you
Richmond-
realistic-
Yarni,
Richmond as well.
stop.
We've given you realistic timeframes, given all the demands we've got across all of the programs of work that we've got. That's why we're working on the safety ones. We've got got on with them. So the team have worked on them. They're reasonably straightforward designs. There's limited design required. Most of the decisions on there's only one. If you look at the Linwood Woolston, because it was raised as an example, there's only one that has limited consultation that's going to be finished by January next year, January 24. So we are trying to get on with it. I don't know how to answer the question. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
We've got a whole program of LTP. We've got a whole program of the LTP. We have got competing demands. You've been briefed extensively on the other project.
Put it a different way, and we'll try. And I get where you're coming from. If we were of the mind to speed that up, that would be an annual plan process.
Yes,
where
it would
we'd
be.
drag forward the funding and then push other things out.
Yes, it
in
would
terms
be.
of our deliverability. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Great.
what's currently like with the performance report, the capital we do get. We are getting tracking of the money that's being spent in the year. Do we have that for these ones? in terms of the 5 areas by the community boards?
That's in the watch list report.
Yeah, there's a more detailed watch list provided in the capital report this month as well. So the CRAF program level projects, the 7 programs went on to the watch list this month as requested last
Right.
month. Yeah. So it's the very last pages of the watch list.
It
It's
is
3
in
pages.
there.
Yeah. So
So-
what resource do you like? Because the annual plan is for next year, but we've currently got. Can you tell me how much money we've got then on this year, this current financial year, for these projects, and what the forecast is for it being, what percentage is going to be spent?
No, not off the. I can't wing it.
Yeah,
Right.
we're having a discussion on Friday.
They
as well.
will be in your schedules you've got around the annual plan.
Yeah. Okay, so I think Dawn wants to add something, and yeah, go for it. And then I've got a couple more questions. I just want to move around, Yanni, and we can come back to you if we need.
Yeah, I just want to know what resources required to keep them on for the June 24 target, and also, like at a governance level, what is it that we need to do to say that these are a priority and we want these to
Well, let's hear from the chief executive. Then I'll move around and we can come back to you.
As a point of order, I think, if I may, that Lynette's telling us that they are already a priority. So why can
We're working on
well,
them.
why is he asking for something that he's been
Yeah,
told
we've
the
got-
opposite?
things that have been approved
Not
later
sure it's quite
are getting
important, but
delivered.
we'll just move to
and
Dawn.
these aren't.
So stop. Can everyone just stop? We'll try and have a good first meeting. Can we go to Dawn, and then I want to move around, and we can come back to you, Yanni. So Dawn.
So there are 2 points, and I want to stress them. The first is that absolutely must be through the annual plan process. And second, the transport team, like every other team in this council, but particularly the transport team, is absolutely working its guts out, both in terms of delivery and breadth of programme. Lynette has given very clear both advice and information that shows that this programme, to be able to be delivered, and the strategic priorities you as council have set for me and my team around deliverability and affordability, that is the clear advice. I cannot get more blood out of a stone, and I'm not prepared to put staff under extreme pressure to try and do something that just isn't possible unless you fundamentally change the programme under the annual plan. And I think that's as strong as I can put it, Chair.
No, that's useful. Thank you, Phil.
Just so I'm clear, CRAF money is not shovel-ready money, is it?
No, you're correct. It's a different fund.
Okay. So out of the 40 million, how much has been spent roughly so far within the nearest million? Very roughly.
That's on your watch list. 1, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. About 3.
Okay. So we've got the thick end of 35 left, so
Yep.
to speak.
The bulk of which is sitting in those 5 areas.
Yeah. Roughly, how are we spending a lot on design and consultation and not that much on actually doing it? Or
That is actually, we've hardly spent anything on design and consultation.
okay. So and the last question is, see, take the likes of Marine Parade or something like that. I can't understand why because we're practically January 23 now, why it takes 2 years to design and build a road, because I know how long that road is. That's the bit that I think Yanni's on about, is why does that take so long when other ones appear to be pushed in front of it? And I know they're in the annual plan, or is it up to us to change the annual plan and inject that $40 million of government money, which was free to us, it's not ratepayers' money. I think he just wants to substitute all of that 40 million versus and push out stuff that our ratepayers have been rated for.
Okay, so that's a question. That's
I
yeah.
think we've had that
Okay,
asked and
so
answered,
I
though.
can.
Yeah.
I have tried to answer that. I will answer that a slightly different way. We have obligations when we do any work on the network to meet our obligations under the Local Government Act around consultation. So we went out and consulted on what work are we going to do. But when it comes down to, and Marine Parade is a good example, we have spent a lot of time and money, and some money, doing the pavement investigations and understanding the extent of work that needed to be done. And there's been multiple to and fro's with the board. I think, Kelly, you've been involved in a lot of that as well. there's been a lot of information collected to inform what are we going to design, but we are making changes to that road network that will involve no stopping lines. It'll involve the installation of pedestrian islands. That we're obligated to go and consult on that. The process we've just gone through took us quite a while to get to what are we going to do as a program. We then have to ask the public again, because they are directly affected, what are your thoughts and views about this design, because that hasn't been put in front of them at this stage.
Okay, so just...
That's why it takes a bit longer.
Yeah, so just roughly, because we're all, in theory, our kick-off date is the 1st of January next year, it would normally take on a job that size 2 years to design, consult and build.
Well, it'll normally take 18 months, but we want to build it in sealing season so we maximise the opportunity for success. So yes, 2 years when you're doing a significant sealing job.
Rebuild job.
Rebuild job like that, yeah,
Thank
which
you.
involves surfacing.
Thank you. Jake.
I just wanted to know if you wanted to comment on the comparator between the Te Kaha surrounds and, say, the Craft streets. I mean, my understanding is those surrounds have been in the plan for a very, very long time. The work has been developed and managed in an orderly fashion. We've then signed off on a project that is essentially finished from the organisational end of things. Just got to actually build the stuff now. And versus projects that are essentially signing off on a concept. I just want to know if you had any comments.
I've got nothing much more to add, actually. That's exactly what I would have said.
That's loaded questions.
And these are all projects,
questions
like I
was
said
comment.
right at the start, these are all projects that would not have been done as part of the LTP, the 10-year LTP. So when we were doing the LTP, these weren't projects that were part of it. So we've pushed more into what we're doing.
And so when were those street surrounds first envisioned?
Prior to that, they were part of the blueprint. So prior to the long-term plan.
Over 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Great. Thank you, Jake. Mel.
What I was going to ask about is the ones in Riccarton where no consultation is required, the street restorations, which I don't know what a restoration actually is, and it's just disappeared. But so that is, that one's a year away. So is that?
My understanding is they're more like for like cleanups. So they're more like more significant maintenance work. If that, as an example, so they're a like for like replacement that wouldn't require consultation. So staff have done an assessment on the long list of work that went to each of the boards. Staff did an assessment on whether there would be significant or whether there would be consultation requirements as a result of the changes that are proposed.
Right. So with those, then that's how long in the next year is it to sort of plan what work needs to be done, and then how long on the ground?
Well, we're only proposing a year to get the work done. So they'd be doing some basic design and getting on with it. But the issue is we hit the winter season.
Right,
so you don't want to be doing surfacing work or resurfacing footpaths or pieces of road or that sort of thing in the winter. Right. Fail.
Okay.
Great. Aaron.
Yeah, just with the list of projects, and a lot of them are safety or improvements. How come the Gardeners Road footpath didn't make it onto the list? And it's a board priority. It's a question on behalf of a community board member.
So going back to the original statement about acceleration, this is about projects that weren't on the long-term plan and bringing them into the program of work that council was delivering.
Right. So when the timing of this was,
this went to you. This went to your board, and there was opportunity to raise that at that time. It was on the long-term plan, though.
Right. Okay. It's just that there's things that are safety improvements and stuff that jump up the list and will get done, and we have kids in winter walking on the white line on a 60 km road. So
we've got. I think Yanni had another question, but can we
explain to the public?
Oh, sorry, Andre first, and then we'll just because everyone's had a chance.
Thank you. I guess this is a question as a new member that's sort of getting my head around the context of craft funding. So as I understand, this originally went out for consultation in 2018, and the feedback was, fix the roads that needs fixing, which has since become, safety improvements, intersection improvements, and so on and so forth. And I'm just picking up on what you said a couple of minutes ago, and that was it had to be projects that weren't originally planned, which, am I right in understanding that would then be, if they weren't originally in the plan, it's because they are lower priority projects, and is the craft funding essentially then directing staff resources to lower priority projects?
Projects not needed for a wee while. Yeah.
I don't think that's a yes/no answer. Maybe I can put a bit more on the context statement around why we were in the conversations we were having with Treasury, which may help your understanding.
Yeah, thank you.
So this was the 300 million post-election tie-up of earthquake issues in Christchurch. That we put forward an idea. We put forward to Treasury. We want to make a real difference in those communities that have been hard hit by the earthquakes and earthquake damage that we haven't been able to get in and do the little things for because we've got big demands on our budgets. So that was really the context around the conversation, and Treasury bought into that. Hence we came up with the accessibility, livability and safety sort of lens that we were putting across all of the work in the areas. What Treasury were really clear about is we're not paying for your BAU maintenance as part of this work, and we're not paying for the stuff that you're already committed to doing. So that's how they lensed it, if you like. The consultation with the community was really around we've got this draft, we've got this investment case that they've signed off on, and it had a big long list of way more than we could do. So where do we draw the line, and what's in and what's out? So that was the consultation with the community. And it was a bit more like a social pinpoint consultation, if you remember it. It was trying to gather lots of information.
So I'm just conscious of time and moving this. So it's a really useful question, I think, for everyone coming through to understand that. So can we just flick, David, I think Yanni might have an amendment he wants to put up. So can we get that onto the screen? Now, has that been through staff advice? So my initial read of that was, if it was to proceed, then obviously we'd need to have a discussion around what projects in the transport plan would need to be bumped out as we work through capital over the coming sort of weeks. That would be the only read I made of that amendment. Have you got just anything you want to add before we take questions?
Well, given the program we've put up, we don't believe we can achieve it. From a staff perspective, given the consultation we've got to do, we don't believe June 24 is an achievable target.
Right, so I guess in terms of legally then, is it an amendment possible of being put? So Helen, is that something you can... I don't really want to get in the habit of ruling them out, but I just want to know whether it's practically possible to do.
Clarification?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I think it was referenced that these projects aren't in the annual plan. Can someone confirm that these projects are actually in the annual plan or not?
They are.
So these are annual plan projects.
Yeah, but they're not all in one. They're not all in one financial year. So what we're saying is, if you wanted to do it, you'd have to pull. Unless I've got it wrong, pull forward budget, bring back budget from previous years, which we'd need to push out other transport projects.
No, because we've got significant budget on to deliver per the original timeframe.
Yeah, but
it's the deliverability.
Yeah. But we've still got stuff in outlying years which would need to be pulled forward. So, is there anything you want to add, Lynette? And then I'd just be keen to get some. If it's technically possible, we'll just put it. I'm not.
The other thing is, so the projects that were confirmed in the last year's draft annual plan was after the CRAF ones, which were already on the annual plan as well.
Sorry, what's the question?
So the bring forwards that have leapfrogged, like the Te Kaha streets, they were approved afterwards in terms of the bring forward of the money.
So is that a question?
Well, at last year's annual plan, we brought forward projects to be delivered in a time frame, right? But that was after we'd already agreed to the CRAF.
Yeah, maybe I'm missing. I'm still not hearing a question though. What's the question?
So the craft projects were agreed before the Te Kaha projects were agreed. They were already on the budget.
Yes,
They were already on the program.
yes,
Yes.
they're already in the annual plan and the LTP.
And so was Te Kaha.
Yeah.
Brought back. They
So
were
what?
already
Yeah.
there for the
Okay.
delivery as per the
Right.
scheduled dates.
So what I'd quite like to do is,
Recommend we postpone it until after the.
okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to leave this one till after the break, because I think Helen and that just want a bit of time to make sure it is capable of being implemented, which is really good. So what we might do we need a, well, I guess firstly, is there anyone that would second the amendment? You will second it, Phil? Yeah. Okay, so all right, we'll leave it and come back to it after morning tea. Do we need to move anything for that, or can I just do that? Okay, great. Okay, thank you. We'll come back. Yep, thank you. We're not leaving though, so we can all stay. Let's move forward. Melody, I might hand over to you. There's just 12 and 13. Oh yeah, sorry. I should actually say, is there anything in the other capital program that you want to question?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's finish the rest.
Yeah, we did spend a lot of time talking about that. Right, Pauline and then Phil.
Just thank you. Just on page 230, just the little bit about the Brighton Estuary edge erosion management. Is that around the inside of the estuary there? Is that the inside edge? Yeah. Is that the inside edge of the estuary? Must be, mustn't it? The estuary edge erosion program. Is that the one that with the gabion baskets and things that we're doing?
It's big rocks, looks good.
Red zone.
Has it started?
Flicks over the page.
No, that's the spit as we know it. Okay,
Yes.
so that's the. Is that your question? Is that
Yeah.
where it is? Yes, the New Brighton spit.
So they're planning to start that next month. It says to share site-specific designs and areas of significance. I'll just send a memo if you like, because
So that project is a very complex project.
Yeah.
The board have recently been updated on progress, which is a lot slower than we'd like, and it's mostly due to very difficult and complex consenting matters.
right.
The design that was preferred, which came out of a series of public consultation and engagement sessions, as it sits, is very, very difficult to consent. And so the program's running a bit slower as a consequence to that. So it's still progressing, that project is progressing, but not as quickly as we had initially imagined.
And what's the value? What's the cost of it? Do you know offhand?
Well, it's still on budget, so I haven't got the number in my head, but it was around, there were two components to it. There's the flood protection, which is a bund inland a little bit, and there's the estuary edge erosion management. I think the combined cost of the whole project, not construction cost, was budgeted around 12 million, 10 to 12 million.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Pardon?
Is the roving maintenance crew paper coming to us before Christmas, please?
We will be doing a briefing for you, Mayor, next week on Thursday, Lynette and I, so we can take you through the progress we're making. Once we've got your feedback, we'll be able to then see where we're at.
Because what I'm getting at is, it's all very well saying we're going to go out and do footpath assessments and stuff like that. In my view, that's just wasting money. We should just, instead of spending money on assessing it, we should be spending money on doing the work. So that the sooner the roving footpath crew is up and running, we're walking down the footpaths one after another saying, right, we'll fix this and just go forward
Just
like an army going over the top.
Questions.
And that would be the question. I asked the question to start with.
Okay, Melanie.
Andrew's just walking out of the room. It was about the OARC and the ECAN consenting.
Is that something we can maybe take offline with him if he's not?
Well, it's probably the consenting team. That's the complication.
It's obviously in the report and it's in the paper, but it would be.
I'm just saying if he's not here.
I know.
Can we? Yeah.
We just ask for a memo for the update on it.
We'll get something for you, or Leah will get something for you. Okay. Any other questions, Yanni?
Just on page 222, just to be really clear about understanding that chart, the yellow is at the financial year's end is the amount that we're expecting to be underspent. Is that correct?
Made an improvement to the charts this month, which hopefully provides better clarity. So all you're seeing in these charts is the financial year provision. You're not seeing future years. You're only seeing FY23. Right. And the black line, the little black line, is the budget provision for this year. Yeah. So where there's a yellow, it means that at the current time the forecast is to underspend on that budget. And where the green line goes past the black line, it means you're going to have to fund it with a bring
so
back.
One's a carry forward and one's likely a bring back.
Yeah, so yellow's carry forward if the situation is held like that, and beyond the black line is a bring back to fund it. So the black line's the baseline for the budget in FY23.
So Gloucester Street, where we've gone from 9%, I think, last report, to 8% now of deliverability. At what point do we actually just consider that in terms of our financial challenge as being something that we would defer? And I guess I'm just concerned that this is really good. It would be good to have, we've got the CRAF, I think there's some CRAF safety improvements in one of them, but actually it would be good to have the those 5 areas actually reported so we could see the spend. So for example, if you take Gloucester Street, you can see really clearly that we're only going to do 8% of that budget, which, despite going through a draft annual plan and requests to defer that and push it out, were ruled out of order. Actually, the reality is hitting home now that we're not going to be able to deliver it. So
I think you've probably asked a heap of questions and made a point.
Well, yeah.
So no, we got them. So Leah's going to add something first, and then if there is anything you feel like you have to add, Leah, do, but don't feel like you have to.
Well, can I just ask, how do we remediate?
Yanni, stop. You've asked 3 questions and made 5 points. I just want Leah to say something first.
So as you're all aware that, we're carrying on with the annual plan. We've got public briefings starting next week as well. As part of this, we'll be working through what is part of the substitution in regards to the capital. All of those questions are valid, Yanni, and can be discussed as part of the annual plan briefing, noting that they will be in public on the 6th. The first meeting in public is on the 6th. So you do have an opportunity to do that as part of the annual plan.
So we can request.
Would we not be better today to signal, where we're getting the information that these projects aren't going to be delivered, which is pretty obvious from Gloucester Street? Why would we not make a call today on that if we wanted things to be delivered that are also on budget?
I wouldn't want to do. I mean, I share a lot of your sentiment. I wouldn't want to do that today because I think we need to take a holistic view of the capital program.
Correct.
And that's the whole point of working through an annual plan. So we're going to be very public next week about it. If there's work that is requested to be done, at that point it can be done.
Right. So how does staff determine which ones that are not currently meeting delivery timeframes get extra resources to get delivered in the timeframes?
So again, we're going to go through next Tuesday an opportunity to talk through a lot of that stuff. There's a list being compiled at the moment. Lynn and her team are working on your request from last week around this. So I would really like to get to next Tuesday if we can and focus more holistically on the capital program.
Sorry, this is just a question for the capital performance report. When we get told that we're not meeting targets, what's the process? I'm just trying to understand what the process is to either meet those targets or So we've maybe am I living on a different universe? We've talked about issues with deliverability for ages. What they're saying is, and Dawn said it time and time again, we have limited capacity with staffing. Our contractors are exactly the same. So in terms of the work that's already committed, that is being delivered. When it's not, that is literally what we discuss at a capital program in terms of the annual plan. So I'm not sure. I just don't want to go around in circles again and again when we're having an annual plan program next week to discuss this. So I think we'll conclude that there. Are there any other questions? No. Okay, so we're going to park this report now. We're going to get some legal advice over the break, and what we're going to do now, Melanie is going to come and take the chair for a couple of items.
Andrew's question.
Oh, sorry, Mel. Andrew, do you want to answer? Could you just come up really quickly? And Melanie, do you want to ask your question, and then we'll do the switch.
I was just wondering about the consenting for the stormwater and the OARC and how that's going, and
sure.
Are there any possible timeframes? And or anything.
Helen's more the expert on consenting, but I presume people might have read the article in the paper this morning. Essentially, there's a stalemate. It's very difficult to get consenting, but it does impact Helen's program more than, if you like, the parks and recreational side of things. But essentially, probably what you read is dead right. Delivery of the whole of the OARC program relies on moving quite a lot of dirt, and we can't do that at the moment. It's about as simple as that. We can push on with the City to Sea pathway. We can push on with the Bexley wetland, because we're not moving a lot of material. We can push on with some of the other modifications around landings and so forth, but the minute water comes into the question, it's technically, at the moment, you can consider it non-consentable.
So from one of the reports, I think it was this one, that the capital delivery is keeping up with what it's expected to be for this year. It read, I thought I saw, but this is actually going to hold up capital delivery, isn't it? For
Not on the programs of work that we're driving at the moment. It is impacting some that Helen may want to comment on.
I'm just wondering, Melanie, given the issues you've raised, I wonder if it's worth Dawn. Do you want to potentially raise it with ECAN?
Yes, I'm happy to do that, Chair. I'll pick it up with
And
the
then
Chief
can you
and
keep
Secretary
Melanie and or the wider council in the
all
loop
of
on
us?
that?
Yeah. If you let
Is
me
it okay?
take it offline, and I'll speak with the CE.
Yeah. No. Good call. Okay. And Phil's got the last question for this session, which is, he's told me is very, very short.
Andrew, is this problem with consenting costing us money at Waitaki Basin because we're having to hold up the contractor, and are we paying for the hold up because of ECAN's procrastination?
It's one for Helen, really. It's one of her team's projects.
Yeah, could we add that to the discussion that the chief executives are going to have?
Okay, that's fine.
Great. So we're going to leave this paper until after the break, and then we're going to. So Melanie's going to come up now. So I think the format after though, depending on how the next two papers go, we'll break for morning tea. When we come back, I'd quite like to carry on with the just sort out the amendment that Yanni's raised. Just get that done and dusted, and then move through to Addington Brook.
When do you want us to come back?
Well, we're not finished yet. We've got Civic Building and a couple of others, and then 15 minutes after that. So.